Okay, so just as I've explained before, we're looking at chemical formula here. And like I said, a chemical formula is a symbolic representation of a molecule showing the elements present and the number of the atoms. So you are showing is a symbolic representation of a molecule showing the elements that are present and the number of the atoms. So for instance, magnesium chloride, the formula for magnesium chloride, the chemical formula for magnesium chloride is MgCl2. It is showing you the elements that are present in this compound or in this molecule, and it is also showing you the number of their atoms that are present. There is one magnesium atom and two chlorine atom in this molecule or in this compound, right? So again, a chemical formula is a symbolic representation of a molecule showing the elements present and the number of the atoms. So, how do we write chemical formulas? There are 5 steps in writing chemical formula. The 5 steps are: 1. You write out the names of the elements that are present in the compound. Number 2 is to write out the symbol of the element. Step 3 is to write the oxidation number of the element. Step 4 is to write out the valency of the element. And step 5 is to exchange the valency, right? So first step is to write out the elements that are present. The second step is to write out the symbol of the element. The third step is to write out the oxidation number. The fourth step is to write out the valency, and then the fifth step is to exchange the valency. So if you follow these 5 steps, you'll be able to write the chemical formula of any inorganic uh, substance or compound. So let's look at this example. What is the chemical formula of carbon 4 oxide? What is the chemical formula of carbon 4 oxide? So it's very important that you should know that when you hear the name carbon 4 oxide, the two elements that should come to your mind is carbon and oxygen. Carbon 4 oxide. So the two elements that should come to your mind is carbon and what? Oxygen. So the first step, like I said, is to write out the elements that are present in the compound, right? Or in the molecule. So when you hear the name carbon 4 oxide, two elements should come to your mind. And the two elements are what? Carbon and what? Oxygen. Carbon and oxygen. Then the next step is to write out the symbol of these elements. So what's the symbol for carbon? The symbol for carbon is capital C. The symbol for oxygen is O, capital O, right? Then the next thing is to write the oxidation number. The oxidation number. So the oxidation number of carbon in this compound is 4. Why is it 4? Because the compound is carbon 4 oxide. Carbon 4, carbon 4. So that 4 represents the oxidation number of carbon. So that will be carbon 4 plus, right? This is the oxidation number of carbon in this compound, carbon 4 oxide. Then the oxidation number of oxygen is always -2. So this is something that you should know, that the oxidation number the oxidation number of oxygen is always -2, except in peroxides. So this is one important fact that you should know, that the oxidation number of oxygen is always -2, except in peroxides, right? So oxidation number of oxygen is what? -2. Then the next thing is to write out the valency. The next step is to write out the valency. Valency is simply the combining power of an element. If you remove the charge from the oxidation number, what you have is valency. So if I remove this positive charge, the 4 becomes the valency of carbon. If I remove this negative charge from this oxygen, the 2 becomes the valency of oxygen. So the valency of carbon here is C4. The valency of oxygen here is O2. Then after doing that, the next thing is to exchange the valencies. Exchange the valency. So the next thing is to do exchange of valency. So these four will go this way and these two will go this way. So that will result to C2O4, right? 2 will come to carbon, 4 will go toward the oxygen. So there is exchange of the valency. Then the next thing is to bring these numbers down. So this will be C2O4. So because of the fact that 2 is a factor of 4, we can actually divide, right? To get the simplest ratio. So 2 here is 1, 2 here is what? 2. Why are we doing this division? Because 2 is a factor of 4. So 2 here 1, 2 here is what? 2. So what is left is CO2. 1 is an insignificant number, so we don't put 1 here. 1 times carbon will still give you carbon, right? So this is CO2. This is the chemical formula for carbon 4-oxide. It is showing you that there are two elements that are present, carbon and oxygen, and there is 1 carbon and 2 oxygen atom. So again, a chemical formula is a symbolic representation of a molecule showing the elements present and the number of the atoms. So these are the steps that you follow whenever you're writing the chemical formula of a compound or of a molecule.